And that actually did have a small effect because when you push down on it, it hits the ground somewhat, but for this demonstration, it'll be fine. See, it just kind of collapsed, but it's whatever. It's for demonstration, so inches, 2 foot long. After you do that, you just cross it, and that'll make it a lot smaller. So don't start off with them being like that far apart, or else it'll be like really small. So I learned my lesson on that one. Alright, just try to get the X in the middle. You basically just start weaving them. I'd recommend like getting all your sticks ready before you start putting it together. Then you put them under both of them. This one seems kind of short. Well, I'll make sure I can see. Alright. Alright, I almost got it done. Oh, wait. Oh, let me see. And then once it's assembled, you can just carry it wherever. You can also use it as a fire. Alright, last but not least, these last 4. We're gonna go with this. Seems a little tighter than the first time I made it. This figure 4 deadfall, there you go. It sucks, put it that way. The one that I made right now. But figure 4 deadfalls are great, but just this one I made isn't good. Long stick.
yajabe labo ebinajirega umuzungu aliyehomba ushahomba
Ça c'est pour montrer comment ça travaille.
Ok, mais touchez ça. Tu vois.
Mr. Redneck Trapper here, showing y'all how to make a bird trap today. What I've done is I found a stick and I've shoved it in the ground, put a big rock in front of it so it wouldn't come straight down and bend. Tied a piece of jute twine around it really tight so it won't come off. And then I come down here and measured off how far it needs to be and placed a toggle on it. And then I've made an overhand loop and run the string back through itself to make a noose. And then I went and found 2 forked branches so that they'd go in the ground. This one was straight so it didn't stay in the ground real good. So, and this one's good. All right. And then you put this one under here and it holds like that. And then you got a bait stick that you can release the trigger. And it'll sit under here and hold the trigger up, the toggle up. Alright, so what you do is you take your flexible branch and bend it down, bend it under this one, and it'll hold itself up like that. And then you take this and you put it right there. For a hairlight trigger, put it right on the tip of the toggle, and it'll hold itself up. And then you take your noose and you put it right over the toggle like that. Alright, and then your animal, well, your bird, he'll come and he'll touch the trigger like this. He'll come right here, push it, and he's caught.
This is a deathfall trap, very useful to catch small preys, who can be a rabbit, for example. In the first step, a crush board is assembled. Some sticks, firmly tied together, form a stable crush board. The board is approximately 150 centimeters long and 50 centimeters wide. If the right height is found, a stick is tied diagonally to the upright sticks in this height. This will hold the crush board in connection with the trigger stick at this point. Tie a string attached to the tripstick to the rear anchor point, leaving 2 inches between tripstick and the anchor. Position your trap where there is proof that animals pass through. Animals have bedding areas, waterholes, and feeding areas with trails from one to another. You must place traps around these areas to be effective. Put a stone or a tree stump on the crush board. This additional weight should have approximate 10 kilograms. The trap thereby has more effect and kills the prey certainly. The type of weight used may vary, but it should be heavy enough to kill the prey immediately. Baiting a trap increases your chances of catching an animal. The bait should be something the animal knows. The deadfall trap works on the principle that when the bait is taken, a weight falls on the prey. This live animal trap can be made to any size. The trigger is an essential part of the trap and should be carefully tested before being finally set. When the trigger stick slips out from the notch of the trip stick, the upper crush board comes down and has got your animal. The trap is very effective and is easily constructed.
Two of which are hook-shaped pieces of wood, basically the same size, and you're going to be hammering these into the ground, so make sure they're decently sturdy. And you're also going to be needing just a straight stick to go between two pieces of wood. Okay, that one's in. Now you get the other one. Okay, the next piece you'll need is just a regular stick that I've put a point on that'll help it go into the ground easier. So let me get these leaves back so you can see what's going on. Just gonna set it right here. I'm gonna hammer this in. Okay, I made this trap right here, right underneath the sapling. So I can just pull the sapling down, tie my string to it, and then put the other end of the string to the trap, and that's what gives us the pull on the trap. So let me get some of my string tied to this, and I'll get right back with you. I found the proper length I need from the tree to the trap to get the right tension point, and I've attached a small stick to the rope that was tied from the tree. And I'm going to be sliding that small stick under another stick as demonstrated. And now what I'm doing is making a noose that will be set right underneath the triggering system. Okay, I have my tree bent over right there with a string tied to it. This goes down to the trigger stick and to the snare. So when an animal comes along and steps on the stick, this is what should hopefully happen. Okay. Okay, now what I'm doing is rigging up the trip line. And this is the part of the trip line that's going to be going over the game trail. Okay, you want to make sure that the bow is pointed directly at this line, because this is the section of the line that goes over your game trail that the animal is going to trip to set it off. So you want to make sure it hits the animal. Okay, now you want to get the line that you're planning on using for your trip line and tie one of those small pieces of bamboo to the end of it. This is going to be part of the trigger system. Okay, once you're done cleaning up your arrow by removing all the limbs and things, so it'll go smoothly out of the bow, you're going to need to carve a notch into it, and this is going to be used to hold it back from firing until the animal trips the line. And when you're through, it should look something like this. Okay, now it's finally time to try out the trap. Where your game trail would be. And now it's time to give it a try. Here it goes, and it works. Well, that's good to know. Alright, and that's how to make a bow trap. Thank you for watching. Please tell me what you thought of it in the comments, and thank you. You got your two sticks. Put the one that's been carved on both ends into the notch. Put your stick that's been carved on both ends at an angle. so the animal sticks his head under and bites on the bait. And the third one you're going to need is just a small one, and that will work as your spear. First thing to do is tie the tallest one to a tree about a foot off the ground. And you're only going to want to tie it at the top because this is going to be your springing device. And if you're having a hard time getting up to where you need to tie it, just rig up a quick ladder. I just made this out of 3 pieces of wood and a little bit of twine. Okay, the next thing you're going to need to do is attach the spear point. This is after you've sharpened it and flattened both sides, both the spear and the piece of bamboo that you strapped to the tree. You can see how I've strapped it together right here. Flattening both sides will keep it from wiggling around as much. And it looks like it's working. You might have to move it around a little bit, play with it some to get it to work right. Okay, the next thing you're going to need to do is hammer a stake into the ground. That's what the second piece of bamboo is for. It's going to hammer that down a little bit. Alright, you're going to need 2 more pieces. A short one and a long one. These are made just out of bamboo. Alright, I've tied the string to the stake and then I'm measuring it out. You'll see why here in a second. This is, right now I'm constructing the trigger system. Now I put a little piece of bamboo on there. This is what the stress of the trap is going to be on, so you want to make sure this is done correctly. Now I'm just pulling it back and setting it on there and see how well it works. It looks like it's working fine. Okay, and now for the next piece, I'm just sharpening it up a little bit so it'll slide into where it needs to go better. Okay, I've got that tied on, and now I'm just going to test it out, see how well it's working. I'll do a close-up on this later, so you don't have to worry about it right now. Just to test it, and it looks like it's working good so far. Now just to put in the tripwire. I'm just putting the tiny tripwire around the tree, and then this will run to the trigger system. Now what I'm using right now to hold down the string does not work, or didn't work for me, but you'll see me use something else a little bit later. Now I'm attaching the toggle for the triggering system. And the only string I use in this is twine, and that will actually rot after a time. So. Now just to try it out. I'm showing you this from a few different angles so you can get a better idea on how it works. Try to make it easier for you. And this is what I did right here to hold the string in place on the stake. Looks like it's working correctly. I'm just going to show you this again in one complete scene. And a little further back.
We're going to be trying to trap the little critters. So what we need are burrows. We need to find out where these little fellas live. And that's where we need to set our snare traps. Alright, to give you guys an idea of what we're making here, it's going to look a little bit like this. As you can see here, we need to cut notches into 2 sticks. If you're smart enough to bring a saw, this will be easy. If not, hopefully you have a knife. The job can be done with that as well. Another factor I had to consider when choosing where to put the snare is the local trees. You gotta have saplings or young enough trees that you can actually bend over, but are strong enough to actually lift a small animal off the ground. That's crucial, otherwise this trap won't work. There's kind of a natural game trail here. Brought the supplies. Got a shovel. Gonna have to bury 2 of the pegs pretty deep so they stay rooted. You can dig with your hands, but it's nice if you have a shovel. Okay, we're positioned on the game trail. I've got the pegs buried. Here's what they look like. As you can see, there's a sapling. Alright, so first we're going to want to make a little tiny snare. And that's real simple. You just make a loop, double knot it. Once you've got our fixed loop, string the rest through, and there. It's that simple. Get a snare, put your finger in, pulls tight immediately. Okay, once we got that, we'll go back to our sapling. Okay, so the idea here is to have the snare be big enough for the animal to get its head through, but not big enough for its body to get through, so it helps to know what the hell you're trying to catch. In this case, it's probably a rabbit, or raccoon maybe, or even a possum. So we're going to try to make it about a foot across, hopefully catch the bulk of it. If I'd been smart, I would have left little notches on these sticks here to gently hang the rope to, and so I kind of got a natural one here. Okay, that's the response we want.
Zuerst steckt man den Stock mit der Kerbe und der Abflachung hier oben so in den Boden, möglichst tief und so, dass er nicht wackelt. Danach sonst das Fallgewicht wegkippen würde. Dann nimmt man den Stock mit der Kerbe hier und den Abflachung auf beiden Seiten, hängt den Stock mit der Kerbe hier oben drauf. So. Dann nimmt man den Köderstock und packt die Abflachung hinten in diese Kerbe hier rein. Jetzt dazu zu dem Punkt, wie man sich das, wie man die Kerben hier vorne machen kann, und das bestimmen kann, auf welcher Höhe die sollen. Dann nimmt man erstmal diese Konstruktion, so, und dann macht man man stellt sich jetzt vor, diese Kerben noch nicht da, macht man auf der Höhe, wo diese beiden Stöcke zusammenliegen, einfach 2 Striche, und dann kann man diese Kerben ganz einfach da reinmachen. So, jetzt muss man, jetzt zum Aufstellen, muss man das so reinmachen, wie schon beschrieben. Da muss man, das ist ein bisschen schwierig, hier oben Gewicht drauf machen mit der Hand. So, wenn man jetzt alles richtig gemacht hat, soll die Konstruktion ganz einfach, weil man hier oben Druck drauf übt, das muss man einfach noch mit dem Finger machen, ganz von alleine halten. Jetzt muss man den Druck konstant halten hier oben und dann einfach das Fallgewicht hier oben drauflegen. So, dabei sollte man sehr darauf achten, dass der Stock, der alles im Boden hält, nicht hier drunter ist, weil er nachher sonst das Fallgewicht aufhalten würde und das nicht das Tier zerquetschen würde. Und dass der Köderstock, der muss so weit unter dem Fallgewicht sein, dass das Tier auch direkt unter der Falle sitzt. Wenn jetzt alles richtig ist, sollte die Konstruktion nachher so aussehen. Dieser Stock ist jetzt das Tier geht hier drunter und wackelt an diesem Köder. Und dann passiert das. So, und diese Figur heißt halt Viererfalle, weil die Konstruktion dieser Stöcke hier eine 4 bildet. Die man, wie wir vorher gewollt haben, so tief wie möglich in den Boden stecken, so dass sie auch schön stabil sind, damit sie den Druck von dem Bogen standhalten. So. Als dann kommt der, braucht man hier, je nachdem, man muss da den Bogen ausrichten. So, kann man schon ausprobieren, das muss halten. Als nächstes nehmen wir die beiden Stöcke hier und ziehen den Bogen an diesem Stöckchen so weit nach hinten, dass der Pfeil knapp vor Ende am Bogen rausguckt. So ungefähr. Merkt sich diese Stelle und steckt die beiden Stöckchen hier in den Boden. Am besten so schräg nach hinten, damit die auch den Druck halten. So. Jetzt spannen wir den Stolperdraht. Der muss jetzt erstmal das Band hier aufrollen. Dann muss man den am besten auf einem Wildpfad, wo die Tiere auch vorbeigehen, aufspannen. Und der sollte sehr stark verankert sein, der eine gute Spannung braucht für später, damit die Falle auch sehr fein ausgelöst werden kann. So, der kommt jetzt hier hinten zu den beiden Stöckchen. Und dann muss man gucken, dass die Biegung von dem Band ungefähr hier ist und dass der zwischen dem Stöckchen hier und dem Stöckchen hier so ein Abstand ist, damit da noch genug Zug drauf nachher ist. Dann brauchen wir das Stückchen hier mit dem Stock oben dran und stecken den so in den Boden hier. Daraus sollte man darauf achten, dass der Stock hier möglichst nicht wackelt, da der Stolperdraht nachher sonst nicht ausgelöst werden würde. Jetzt muss man gucken, dass der Stock hier möglichst viel Spannung hat und dass er gut hier vorgeklemmt ist. So, jetzt brauchen wir noch den kleinen Stock hier. So, jetzt kommt das Installieren der Falle. Und ziehen das Band mit dem Stock an den Bogen dran, ziehen wir nach hinten und klemmen es so hinter das Stöckchen hier. So, hier ist jetzt schon ein ziemlicher Zug drauf, der wird nach hinten gezogen. Und damit dieses Stöckchen hier würde jetzt eigentlich nach oben umschlagen. Und damit das nicht passiert, legen wir den Stock hier oben drauf. So. Jetzt muss man das hier, das ist das Schwierigste eigentlich schon, den Stock, der rutscht hier nach hinten, muss man jetzt ganz knapp an der Kante von dem Stock hier hinschieben, damit die Falle auch sofort auslöst. Muss man vielleicht später noch ein bisschen nachjustieren. So. So, die Falle ist jetzt gespannt und jetzt legen wir den Pfeil hier ein. So, man sollte den Pfeil möglichst so ausrichten, dass er genau auf den Pfad oder eben auf den Weg, den man gewählt hat, ausgerichtet ist. Notfalls muss man halt wie hier diese Steine oder irgendeine Unterlage runter machen, damit es richtig ausgerichtet wird. So, hier ist der Stolperdraht, der sollte jetzt straff gespannt sein. Und wenn man dann fertig ist, sollte die Falle ungefähr so aussehen. Man stellt jetzt vor, das hier wäre ein Reh oder irgendein anderes Tier, diese Haken hier. Und ich lasse es jetzt hier drauf fallen und dann sollte der Pfeil in diese Zielscheibe reinfallen.
Okay, what we've got here then is a really simple bird trap. Works on a pressure trigger mechanism. All it simply is a purse net used to rub it in, put over a nice frame that forms basically your cage itself. The trigger then, let's have a look at the trigger mechanism. We've got like a hook stick here, which is hooked over, then comes back, and it's got a nice little joint there. That's really finicky, really fine. So it's being pulled back that way, and that in turn keeps this larger stick balanced and holding up the cage. So let's just zoom out and have a little look, and that's the setup there. The trigger mechanism, all it simply is, the bird will come along, it's primarily used for birds obviously, bird will come along, pressure on the trigger, release the little socket there, the little joint there, which in turn will allow this to fall backwards, which will seesaw, branch at the top there, and the cage will come down. So let's have a little look. Bird comes along, pressure on, that's it caught.
Today I'm going to show you how this Siberian boat trap works. And why I call this a Siberian boat trap is because when I found it, I was actually looking for some information for these people that's living in Siberia, and they are called the Mansi people. And while I was looking around for information of these Mansi people, I came over this picture, just a very simple picture in black and white drawing. And I saw this boat trap and I thought to myself, wow, I got to do this one. So I printed it out and checked it out very carefully, but I couldn't figure out how the mechanism was working actually. But finally I found a way around the problem, and now we're going to have a look of how it works.
Tested them, 2 holes. Got this. That one goes like that. Got to be sturdy. The 2 pieces of wood here, and check them out so they are lying okay, so that it feels sturdy. Put the bow in the middle. Take a nice piece of strong leather thong and get it on tight. There we go. It feels good. Yep. And then I pull back the bowstring, and I have a peg here. There you go with the trigger. And then afterwards I'm gonna go with this string here, trigger right there. So then I'm gonna get this one here. So there's gonna be a downward motions from the string. That's why I have this twig in the ground here. And that noose gonna pull down this noose. Then the trigger is going flying away and the arrow is off. Tightening the string, you have to tighten it enough, hard as possible, but not that hard that it will trigger itself. There you go. Now with the trigger string here. Now it's the time to put in the arrow. Arrow gonna fly. Here we go.
Alright, I'm here to teach you how to make one of the greatest squirrel traps. And it's holding all the tension for this. You can use a tree, as I'll show later in the movie, but as we can see here, this is actually a very simple trap to make. It just takes a little bit of time. We have right here and here, it's actually floating above, as you can see. The next thing is you're gonna have this stick, which I don't want to touch yet because this trap is actually set right now. It's the trigger mechanism, and whenever something touches that, when it goes for the food, it's gonna pull up, and there you go, you got your squirrel. As you will see, this is how you're gonna set it. When you have the whole thing tied together, you got your rope on the top tied, you got all these pieces of wood into the ground, you have this little piece of wood tied to the rope, you're going to loop it under the stick, and the stick will pull up. There's no problem there. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your other stick, which is going to be the trigger, and you're going to put it in between the small stick that you just hooked on and the stick that you shoved into the ground. It's as simple as that, because when it pulls,
okay, I had this twitch up snare already set up in place. Right there is the loop, which is set up, held up by a little twig, and we're just pretending that this right up in this area is the game path that I've set this up in. That's been well traveled. So once it gets into there, it continues going and takes off, and he pulls that noose, and he's trying to get away. And once he gets away, he trips the trigger, which will